Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Daily Creativity with me, Charlotte Burns. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Today, I've put a little funny, I've titled this a bit funny, I don't know if you remember the ad, Look Mum, No Hands, and this is Look Mum, No Stamps. So one of the things that I've said in the past is that I love stamps because I can't draw to save myself. And so stamps give me the ability to put really pretty things on paper that I couldn't draw myself. One of the things, so what I'm doing today is I'm using this stamp here. Now I did buy the stamp and thin cut set. I wanted to show you, this is the true size of the stamp, and then it's got a picture on the front. So this is stamp and thin cuts. And in a future video, I'm going to talk about the benefits of buying a stamp as opposed to buying a stamp and thin cuts set as opposed to just a stamp set. I'll get it right. Anyway, so this is the stamp I'm using today. I'm not using the thin cuts, but I want to show you how you can colour with no lines. Now I've already gone ahead and stamped most of the images, but I just wanted to show you, you probably can't see much on this page. So I've got my final stamp, which I'm putting down here. I kind of changed it as I went. So I'm going to put this one down here. So I'm stamping and then releasing. I'm going to clean that up and then I'll bring my paper up to the camera so you can see what I have done. And let's see if you can see how it's just very barely showing up on there. So if you want to use this technique, you do need a very light ink, and I have used linen. Now don't look at that price. I've had this for many years. Linen is a colour that is going to be hanging around. So if you like this technique, I do recommend you investing in some of these. There will be a price increase on Close to My Heart products come the 1st of August. So there's a bit of a tip for you. So I'm going to be using linen. Well, I've used linen to stamp all of these. I say you need a light ink, and I thought that mink might have been light enough, but I stamped it and it came out quite dark. So look, mink might work, but I'm not doing mink today. I'm using linen. I am going to just quickly, so in other videos, you usually see me remove my stamps from my blocks, put them on the carrier sheet and put them away, and it takes time. And so I kind of maybe stopped doing it. And then I found all these stamps everywhere with stamps on blocks away from their sets. And I packed up the set and put it away. Yes, I have a specific way I put my stamps away, and that's okay. All right. Hello to everyone who's watching live. I hope you have had a great morning, and I hope that you are going to have a great day. All right, the next thing you need is, you can do this with watercolor paints. I've also done this with alcohol markers. I'm not showing that today. I'm just using the Close to My Heart watercolor paints. Mine are pretty mucky because I am not that fussed. That is supposed to come off. I'm not that fussed with when it comes to watercolor paints and it being all pristine and beautiful. If your preference is to have nice, clean nice, clean little water things, colour pots, whatever they're called, then certainly you can, wash it, whatever, but I don't care. This is meant to be able to come off so that you can use all of these bits as little colouring palettes, which is really cool. So what I want to do with this is just colour the leaves and show you what you can do. This is a water brush, still available, going to be available. This is a manky chamois that is dry. Okay, so this is a dry chamois. But what I'm going to use is just to dry my water brush off in case it gets a little bit too wet, or if I want to change colours, which I'll show you a little trick. All right, so I'm going to start by just adding some colour to this green here. Now, the more water you use, I'm adding some water to that green there. The more water you use, the lighter the colour you get. So I want a fair amount of water because I'm going to colour in the lines that, again, I don't know if you can see the lines, but there are lines there. And as I colour, the lines actually show up. Now I'm going to go outside the lines, but can you see the lines are starting to show up and they actually absorb the colour of the ink, the paint. So I'll just pick up a little bit more. And it's really cool. I really like it. So even with the lightest of paint, just by adding that little bit of colour, it kind of keeps it inside that line, but then the ink picks up the colour of the paint and gives it a line. So that is what happens when you paint over the top of, as I said, I have used linen. How about I put linen? Yeah, there's no room. I've zoomed right in so that you can see really clearly what I'm doing. It's just hard to see these particular leaves. Now, if I had more paint on my brush and less water, it wouldn't show up as much. So you really do want, with the watercolour paints, you want a fair amount of water on your brush rather than the paint. It's kind of chalky paint more than anything. But how cool does that look? Just picking up a little bit more paint. Now I'm not going to be able to do the stalks, obviously, because they're not a solid, they're not a line that I can kind of go down and fill in the area. But there I have my first lot of leaves. I know you might think, well, that's not pretty, but maybe it's not meant to be pretty. I remember the first time, I'm just moving things around a little bit. How about we move it that way so I can fit it all in? I remember the first time Close to My Heart brought out a stamp set that had, so it had the stamp, it had an outline stamp, and then it had like a solid stamp, and you stamp the solid stamp over the top of the outline stamp. And it was kind of really hard for me because they didn't match together perfectly, but that's what it was meant to look like. So what I've done there is I've just squeezed some of the lighter green into here, and I'm just changing colours. So this is what this is for, to create different colours. And I'm going to do this one here, just another example. And again, if I just keep colouring over the top of that line, you'll see that the actual stamped lines, oh, there you go. So I'll come down just really quickly on the stem. I have to go back and do the other stem. As always, girls, what I've done is, I haven't practiced this at all. I've just come in and shown you live. So any mistakes that I make, it would have been a horrible mistake if I had have started off with the mink. But see how that's just super cool? Super cool. I think it's super cool. If you think it's super cool, give me a couple of love hearts. Let me know that you love me, love my technique that I'm showing here. So as I mentioned, I'm using the Close to My Heart watercolour paints. You could try it with other watercolour paints. You could even try it with watercolour pencils. And it does also work with alcohol markers, because that is something that we have tested. Now that is pulling, and I don't want it to pull. And I could probably come back in and use other colours, and so other shades in there. What I want to do is clean my brush off, because I'm going to go down and do that stem. So I'm just going to come down like this. And it's possibly a little bit, well, for one, it's a little bit thick. It's also a little bit dark, but there you go. So that is colouring with no stamping. So you do actually stamp, but it just doesn't look like you've stamped. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water into this one and pick that up. That is obviously a lot darker. And I'm just wanting to change the colour fractionally. That doesn't seem to have changed much. So I'll pick up a little bit more of this. I'm not good at mixing colours. So all I want is different coloured leaves. What I have just realised, of course, is I have stamped every stamp twice. So before I move on, I might just go and colour the other stamp the same colour. You see how that line picks up? It's so cool. So cool. I will turn this into a card. This particular stamp set has some lovely sentiments on it. And you can do shading with your watercolour paints. Finding it very difficult to talk and paint at the same time. It's taking a lot of concentration. So please do excuse me. You can do shading with watercolour paints. Might be a session for another video perhaps. But I'm assuming you're getting the gist of how this is working. I know, it's boring when it goes silent and I lose all my followers and viewers and everything. I'm concentrating. How cool does that look? Is that really cool? I think that's really cool. Possibly just needs to be a little bit darker. I've maybe got a little bit too much water in that. So there I've just picked up a little bit more paint and I'm just going to put some shading on to one side of these. So just adding colour to one side, it gives you that shading effect. So there we go. All right, I won't keep going. I will love you and leave you. I hope you have a go with this. Remember, you need a light ink, so something like linen, close to my heart, linen ink, some watercolour paints, and a good stamp. It has to be an outline stamp. Have a go. See how you go. Thanks so much for watching. I will finish this off and post it, post a picture of it so that you can have a list of everything that I've used. But I'm off for now. Stay safe, keep crafting, and bye.